You know what I don't miss at all? That horrendous week right before my period when I feel like crawling out of my skin, and my skin is full of zits, mind you. Yes, PMS hits me hard, but now it's easier to manage with Estro Control by Happy Mammoth. Estro Control contains science-backed herbal extracts that help support hormonal health, especially during PMS. The way it does this is super interesting. The ingredients help support the liver, where our hormones are processed, and oftentimes PMS symptoms are caused by hormonal fluctuations. Estro Control is also made specifically for women who are premenopausal, a time when, PMS can turn into a beast. I know this firsthand. So for a limited time, you can get 15% off on your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code DATEABLE at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DATEABLE for 15% off today. Yes, we all know the quality of makeup and skincare products are important, but have you ever thought about how you apply them is even more important for results? Since 2019, Anissa Beauty has been leading the way in creating vegan and cruelty-free makeup and skincare brushes that are safe for your skin and the planet and are designed to optimize the application and absorption of skincare products. Their popular Pinnacle foundation brush has made such a big difference for me. I used to hate wearing foundation because it always felt so caked on, but with this brush, I can use so little product and it goes on flawlessly due to its patented triangular shape. Anissa Beauty's brushes deliver value and quality like no other. The same goes for their Pinnacle Skin Brush, which has completely changed how I apply skincare. I no longer use my hands to apply my products. Check out the Pinnacle Foundation Brush as well as several other amazing brushes at anissabeauty.com and get 30% off site-wide with the code DATEABLE. That's ANISA beauty.com. And don't forget to use the code DATEABLE. Hi, I'm Yue Xu.
And I'm Julie Krafchick.
We're active daters turned dating insiders.
Here to dive into everything modern dating and relationships.
Welcome to Dateable. Hello, friends.
Welcome to another episode of Dateable.
It's an important eve of many sorts. If you celebrate this eve, happy holidays to you. Hope you're all eating some yummy, fantastic food and maybe opening some presents. I know some people do.
I feel like with my partner, since I don't celebrate Christmas on my own, but their family, they do more on Christmas Eve, like the bigger dinner and all that. What about you? Do you do that more or do you do Christmas as the big day?
We don't do it. I mean, we just go out to eat. Like we go out to eat on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day we go for a hike or whatever. Nice. We don't do gifts in our family. There's only 3 of us, so we change the rules every year. This year, let's just eat duck. We're good.
I feel like I've been getting so many gifts, but also Hanukkah this year is, I think the first night is on the 26th. So it all is around the same time this year.
Do you get presents for Hanukkah from your family?
It's just holiday combined at this point.
Yeah. And what did you call him, your partner? What did you call it? Did you say partner? I'm sorry. I didn't recognize that label. I thought we had moved from P to F. Fiance,
I feel like I'm still getting there. You've called me on this on a couple times now.
We've done a few interviews on other people's podcasts to talk about our book. And this is like a few days after Julie's engagement. And every time she mentions her partner, I have to stop her. I have to be like, wait. Because here's the thing. I think fiance is so short-lived. You might as well milk it as much as you can.
I can see that. I don't know. I do really like partner. I've said this to you. There's something about that word that I really enjoy. And I feel like I even might say that instead of husband, just because it still encompasses like everything, you know?
Yes. Well, partners forever, but fiance, you only get to be for a certain amount of time.
It's true.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a very unique
We'll see how it
time
goes.
that you can. And in case you missed the news, Julie got engaged very recently, a few days before we are recording this intro. Don't worry about timelines, but yeah, Julie is a newly minted fiance.
You know, I did post in the Facebook group and also put like something on Instagram story, and just the amount of love was just so overwhelming in the most positive of ways. And I was talking actually to one of our moderators in the Facebook group, Caitlin, and I remember she actually came to San Francisco from SoCal at the time. She lived there then. And she came up, and, you know, this is during the time where people were meeting up a lot for sounding board and stuff. And I met up with her for the first time, and it was like right when I first started dating him.
Oh.
And I remember sharing with her, like, I met this person. It feels different. He's just wonderful. And thinking about it, everyone's been on my journey. Like, I don't like think about it, but like people have been here in the Facebook group, on the podcast. They've seen, I think, like, obviously I'm, I guess, meeting someone later in life, which is a funny way to put it, but you know, you're getting married at 40. I'm gonna be like 42. Like that's older. It's not old, it's not the end of the time, but older, all intensive purposes. And I think though it's a testament that like it can still happen. Like you can have different experiences, and it, you know, by taking inventory of like why it's not working, change the way you show up and who you choose as your partner. And I'm glad that, like, I don't know, some people were like, you give me hope. And I'm like, I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even thinking about Caitlin too, at the time when you had met up with her, she was very single, frustrated by dating, et cetera, et cetera. And fast forward to now, she's in a very happy relationship that she has been sharing with us in our Facebook group, Big Dateable Energy. And she just seems like, happy is the wrong word when I talk about people in healthy relationships, but there's a peacefulness that comes over people when they're in a stable, reciprocal relationship, because the anxiety kind of doesn't override everything anymore. And that's what I see with you too. I wrote in my post, like, this is the most at peace I've ever seen Julie.
I think that's what was different from day one with this. And it's not to say that like every day has been easy. I think healthy relationship can bring up different stuff. I think it's a different, like, it's a different battle than maybe I had when I was in these like unreciprocal relationships or things that weren't going anywhere, where it was almost like I was really like trying to just get the bare minimum. And by doing that, it was painful not to get it. But I think this relationship, I've never like had that like, oh, let me text my friends and get their take. Like I just work it out with my partner. And it's definitely like brought up my own shit and like our own like, you know, pasts and just the way we interact in relationships and all of that. So it's not like, you know, once you meet your person, it's all like rainbows and butterflies, but it's like a good type of hard, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah. You're working towards something together, and that feels less like me versus you.
Totally.
That kind of hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two heads are better than one when you're working together. So that does make sense. And do you want to give us, because I know the engagement story, the proposal story, but do you want to quickly give us a high level story and then we'll go into more detail in a later episode?
Yes. And just for the record, I'm not going to be that person that's like nonstop talking about wedding planning because I think it's so annoying. So I'm not going to be that person. But I even said to you, I'm like, does anyone care? But like the fact that like people were so, you know, supportive, I'll use that word. And that made me really happy. So I will share. And then I think like the greater thing is like the journey to get here, right? Of like, you know, finding the right person and all the stuff, like honestly, just like the stuff that we talk about in our book, like looking at that was just like the way I dated was so different this time around. So I will like completely attribute it to just Dateable and everything I learned here, because God knows where I'd be if I didn't learn what I learned. Probably still in a situationship.
Oh boy, no, I hope not.
So Cliff Notes, no, I probably wouldn't be, but anyways.
We would not be friends if you were still in that situation.
You're like, I can't hear about this for 5 more years.
Like I'm firing you as my friend.
Yeah, so I guess just the Cliff Notes version, and we will be doing on the off season. We've done this from time to time where we interview each other, and I think especially now there's a new year. Clearly, this is a new chapter for us, and with this for me, but also like us, like with the book coming out, like there's just so many things, and I think the book has really brought to light to our past. It caused us to reflect, so I think it'll be really fun to interview each other to get updates of like what's going on on today, but also like, how could you attribute those updates? Like, how did you get there? Because I think just hearing from people like, oh, I'm engaged, like it's exciting, it's fun, but I like hearing like, okay, how did you get there? Like, how did you make those changes and all of that?
So how did you get engaged? Speaking of.
Well, I knew it was coming. I mean, it's something that we've talked about for a while, so it's not a surprise. I mean, I'm curious like your take on this, UA, but like when we were ring shopping and stuff, there was like all couples in there together. And I feel like that's such a difference of like back in the day, it's like the guy goes and surprises and a whole thing. And now it just feels a lot more like collaborative.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. I actually think it was really good for both of us. Like I've never been like the person that dreamed about my ring. Like I honestly had like no idea. And I was also like lucky that like I had a family stone to work with too, which is very meaningful to me. But part of it was like doing it actually was like a lot more fun for both of us. And I think like seeing the excitement on both sides was really good for us, like to keep moving in this direction. And, you know, obviously now it just feels like so special having this one that we like picked out and designed together too. So that was one piece. But yeah, some people have asked like, what, were you surprised? And I'm like, no, in the sense of like, I knew it was happening. This is a decision that we've, you know, been working towards for a while. Like even when we moved in together, it was like, of course, like anything can happen if you move in together. You're not like bound together if you move in, but we were working towards this eventually.
Yeah.
And that was like a big piece of like taking the time to move in too, of like, do we want to take that next step in this direction?
Yeah. Very intentional every step of the way.
Yes. And I will attribute a lot to my partner with that. I think we complement each other very well in the sense like, I actually don't want to reveal it because like we're going to actually share these like dating archetypes that we have in our book in January. So I'm going to save this for I'm going to pause this thought and I'll save it for when we actually do the more in-depth interview.
Good teaser.
Anyways, we counterbalance each other well. For many reasons. So I knew it was coming. I didn't know the exact day. I also feel like for me, I actually like there was some anxiety in like knowing it was happening, but not knowing when. And like, I don't know, like also like, what if it doesn't happen for some reason? I think because it was like so like far down, but like that thought like could pass through my mind. And that wasn't necessarily anything my partner was doing. I think it's just like the anxiety that I've had in relationships and dating that like still seeps in. And I think, you know, like obviously the partner is so important and like you have to do your own healing work with all of that. But part of it is just recognizing when it's coming in and being like, this actually isn't a fact. Like there's no facts pointing to this. Like calm yourself. I was like, okay, can you just tell me like, will it happen before or after the holidays? Like that was like the question.
That's important. Yes.
So he was like before. So I was like, okay. So I knew like there was a general time frame that was closing in. And that morning, it was on a Sunday. Like we were already planning on going on a hike. So like in my mind, I was like, oh, it could happen here. This would be a really beautiful environment. But I didn't know. And that morning, like he was like, I'm going to go to Whole Foods. And I was like, oh, like, do you want me to come with you? And he's like, no, I'm good. Like, I need to pick up a few things. And then he's like, also, like, are you good doing a dinner at 8 p.m. at this restaurant? And like on Sundays, like, we don't usually go out for dinner. So it's like, okay, something feels like it's happening today. So anyways, I let him go to Whole Foods. I didn't ask too many questions. He came back. He was also like, can we do the hike at 11? So I was like, okay, that's fine. That works.
Wait, at this point, I know we're going to get in more details in later episode, but I do want to know, were you preparing yourself mentally and physically for a proposal? Because I can see.
Oh, I did my nails in the morning.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, like, did you pick out an outfit? Were you like, what
I mean, no, my outfit, I maybe should have given more thought because I looked like a grape. I was wearing like purple pants and a purple jacket.
Oh,
I didn't actually think about it because like the jacket, like, I don't know. Anyways, maybe I should have given more thought there. But with the nails, I thought about that. And I'm not someone that like paints my nails a lot. So I was like doing it in bed that morning.
That's what I always notice in engagement photos. I'm like, oh, this girl knew. If her nails are all done, I'm like, she knew. She prepared.
I think when I knew it was like before the holidays, I was like, and then also like we had a plan of a hike. So I'm like, it might not be, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to do them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, good call.
So I did that. I also noticed he was like getting a lot of blankets together. And I was like, this feels like more than the average hike, right? So on the way, he was like, oh, we're going to stop at this restaurant to pick up some sandwiches. And like it might blow the surprise a little, but I might need you to like jump out and get them because like double parking and all that. So I was like trying to guess where it would be because it was like on the route to like over Golden Gate Bridge because we're going to Marin County for any locals for the hike. And we stopped at this restaurant and it was actually the place that he got sandwiches for us on our third date, which was a picnic that I've mentioned before. That was like the most well-prepared picnic date, park date that I had been on. And this was during the pandemic. So I went on a lot of park dates and a lot of people just showed up. They didn't do anything. And my partner had like the full spread of ordering sandwiches and just like very prepared. And I was like, oh, like this person's putting in the effort, right? It was just like another sign. Anyway, so we stopped and he had ordered the sandwiches. He actually had looked back to our text messages from that third date to get my order.
Yeah.
Which was really cute.
Very thoughtful.
But I didn't actually know that this, like, it's like there's a few locations in the city of this place, but it had just opened. So I was not expecting to pull up to it in this location. So that was a little bit of a surprise, even though not. Anyways, with all this happening, I was like, it's either going to happen on this hike or tonight at the dinner.
Yeah, I would have assumed at the dinner.
You know, I was thinking, I thought it was the hike just because there was like, we don't normally like picnic at the hike. I didn't know where I was going. And I liked that. I think he knows me well. Like there was a lot of surprises in the sense of like, I didn't know what was happening, but it wasn't like an anxiety inducing surprise for me. Like in this, it was the perfect level. So anyways, we do the hike, we get to the beach and he's like, oh, like let's cross over here. It's like a more secluded area. And there's normally like a few like rocks that you climb over to get there. But because there was actually a tornado watch the day before, so there was like a ton of rain and it was like not that many pebbles. And I'm like, I don't know. We were like looking at it. We're like, how are we going to get over this? And like this dad put out a log for his like daughter to climb over. And he was like, can you like, he was like, can you do this? Like, is this okay? And he's like, I don't want you to like do it because like, you know, that like, he didn't want to make me feel like forced to do it because I knew that like something was happening. But I also was like, I want to try because he's like trying to plan this thing, right?
It's his vision.
Yeah. So I did it and it was fine and it was great. And I got over it and we were in this like more secluded area of this beach. And actually, because the weather wasn't great, it wasn't very crowded, which was nice.
Yeah.
But the weather actually, like the clouds parted, the sun came out like as this was happening, which was kind of amazing.
I'm pretty sure he made that happen.
Yeah, he definitely planned that.
Yeah, he did. He made a few calls.
Called the weather gods. So anyways, he got down on one knee, said some very sweet things that in the moment I was just like, oh, this is, you know, like obviously I was like, of course, yes, yes, yes. So like there was no doubt with that.
Oh.
And it honestly was perfect. It was like everything I could have asked for. We took a lot of photos. It's funny. My mom was like, who took all these photos? And I'm like, I took a page from UA actually. UA is very resourceful. And we were like finding rocks to like put the camera on and lean it against. And then I was using my timer with the Apple Watch.
Yes.
And we got some good ones for not having like a
Good
photographer. Job. I want to get your take on that too, but I'll pause on that.
But so nobody saw. No
one saw. And there was like a person like close by. And I'm like, they definitely did not see. It was just like there weren't many people there. And like the one person nearby was like doing their thing and like just was
they
oblivious.
had no idea a proposal just happened.
But it was perfect. So I think like both of us didn't really want to do like a big public thing. Like, I think we both liked having more of the privacy. And I'm curious, Yue, your take on this, because like a lot of people nowadays are hiring photographers to come to like, you know, get the shot of like the person down on one knee to post on social or just to have the photo. And like, actually, even when we went to dinner, the guy, like the waiter was like, oh, did you guys have a photographer? And I see the merit of it. I see that it's nice to have that as like, a souvenir is the wrong word, but like have it as, you know, like have that moment memento, captured. Yes. But then I'm like, would this person just be like following us on the hike? Would they just be like lingering in the rocks, like hiding out? Like I guess it would take a private moment and not make it so private. I'm curious your take though.
Yeah, I guess it depends on I guess it's the couple deciding what's important to them. I know some people capturing these moments, very important to them. And whoever's proposing will just have to figure out a photographer to hide out and at the right spot. I mean, there's a lot of coordination that goes on to that. But ultimately, I do think it depends on the couple of what you want to capture. I also think there's something like when there's a photographer or other people involved, to me, it does take away from the intimacy of that moment. Yeah. Because you're kind of like the proposal is a very intimate thing, right? It's just between you two. And now all these other people are involved in observing this. And I know some people love this. Some people loving having their like best friends and family nearby to witness. Good. That's you do you. But I think for personal preference, I just want it to be private.
That's how I felt too. And again, no shame in any way of doing it. And for me and for him, this was perfect. And you know, he also got me Justin's peanut butter cups. That's what he got at Whole Foods. He also got champagne, but didn't bring it on the hike. That's what the Whole Foods order was. Oh. And then he also brought me a LaCroix for the picnic.
Your second love. He's your first love, and LaCroix is Julie. No, I don't know. Either Starbucks or LaCroix is Julie's second love.
I sound so basic when I say that. But anyways, it was really nice. It was very thoughtful. And then we went to like a really nice dinner, a Michelin star restaurant, which was exceeded expectation. But it was a really great, I'll give them a shout out. It was called Sal. It's like a Korean restaurant in Russian Hill in San Francisco.
It looked really yummy.
Yeah. And it was like, there's like a few Michelins in that area. And we had been to like all but this one. And it's been kind of on the bucket list. So it was,
perfect.
It was so good, like so innovative. The staff was amazing. They even like printed out on a cookie at the end, like happy engagement. It was just, it was so nice. It was just a perfect day. And like, he just nailed it.
Honestly, just that dinner reservation alone gave it away. Like going to a Michelin star.
Well, I didn't know where I was going.
Oh, okay. You didn't know.
I didn't know where I was going. But even like any dinner on a Sunday, we just don't really do that. But I didn't know where. But yeah, when he was like dinner at 8 on a Sunday, I'm like, okay, something's happening.
Something's up. Let me paint my nails just in case. Just my left hand. I got it.
Yeah. But I think it's just like, honestly, I'm just happy. Like, I'm happy that we're, you know, taking our next step together. And it's like, we obviously are already building a life together and have built a life together. But, you know, it was something meaningful for both of us. And I'm glad that we're, you know, next stage of life.
And you're doing it your way, which is something I'm so proud of you two for doing, for really just like, I know this, we say this a lot, but just the intentionality before every step you've taken just shows how much integrity you both have in this relationship. And it's great to witness you two like taking this next step, but now you have a lifetime of these steps to take. And I just feel like you've built such a strong foundation for a life together.
Thank you. And we'll definitely talk more because I do think like there's a lot of interesting stuff that's come up too of just like, you know, meeting someone a little later and thinking on timelines and biological clocks and then that stuff, but then also taking the time to really enjoy the stages. And I think also just like now that we have taken that time, just the foundation is so much stronger with each other, but then also our families and all of that. So I'm like grateful for that as well.
Yes, I really love that. And it's such a perfect topic. And we didn't we didn't time it this way.
We didn't plan this,
But
yeah.
in this episode, we interviewed two matchmakers. They actually call themselves the love agents of Hollywood because they founded a matchmaking business for entertainment folks, entertainment industry folks, and they've expanded beyond that. But what is kind of cool about this conversation is they talk about what they look for in terms of matching people and what they consider are the key characteristics that you should look for in a partner and how they can tell if two people will be a good fit or not.
And I mean, let's be honest, who you choose is half the battle, right? It's more. And just like finding the right person is the make or break. So I love that we're diving into matchmaking. We've had a lot of people say that they want to hear more about this topic because it's just another way. And matchmaking is growing exponentially with Gen Z too, who is like frustrated by dating apps and wanting more of that like old school. It's funny because like matchmaking, I think of like Fiddler on the Roof and like the matchmakers that are just like, it's been around forever. But I love that like it's having a comeback. And this was such a fun, interesting convo with Jaydi and Lauren, who are these matchmakers that have just been in the entertainment industry. But honestly, it applies to anyone, I think, that's seeking a matchmaker to understand the inner workings of how matchmaking works, but also like how they are different than other matchmakers. It just shows you that like there's a lot of differences too. So again, you find what's right for you.
And I like that they'll give you kind of tidbits on how to even work with a matchmaker.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this is a great tool to have, but how do you maximize your relationship with your matchmaker?
Yeah. So I think for anyone that's curious about this alternative to dating apps, even if you already work with a matchmaker or there's something of interest, it could be, again, a way to maximize your efforts.
And what you'll get out of this conversation are different ways of approaching dating. They have this rule where they only set you up on one date at a time. So you can only date one person at a time. And we'll expand into like why they decided to do that. And also how you can, even without a matchmaker, how can you meet more people who may be suitable for you?
Yeah, that was actually something that UA had a friend. Can I share this? That your friend?
Yes.
So UA has a friend that is a client of theirs.
Yes.
And one of the things that got me interested in this topic was this one date at a time mentality. And when you brought it up, you were like, yeah, my friend is using these matchmakers and this is their like philosophy. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. You were like, would you want to like have them on the podcast? I'm like, yeah, that sounds super interesting. So I think even if you're not using a matchmaker, there's definitely tidbits, but then just understanding like the work that goes into matchmaking too. So if you are using one, you could appreciate it, but also like you can see that it might not be like the silver bullet either that just requires no effort. Like I think we're always looking for that thing that's like effortless, and like whether it's apps or going to in-person events or a matchmaker, like all of them require effort. It's like we just need to reframe that effort isn't a bad thing.
And you'll also hear how one of them met her now husband. I won't give it away. It's a little teaser, but it does have to do with her business, her matchmaking business. And it all goes back to, you know, this idea of finding your person and taking this next step together. And that filtering for your person is, it's not even the picking, it's the filtering for that person. That's so important. And I would even say when we get into Julie's story in a later episode, I think the filtering she did in the beginning, even though it was over 3.5 years ago, it is exactly what led her to her now fiance.
Totally. Today. And there is a lot of this in our upcoming book, How to Be Dateable.
Wow, we have a book? I forgot.
And of course, we're going to draw from our own experiences and the daters, people in the community that we've seen their stories unfold and we've seen them approach dating differently, taking the tactics we've talked about on this podcast, but going a level deeper. I mean, this book was our way to synthesize 10 years of doing Dateable and really digging into modern dating and seeing what's happened. And we really, I think, just feel so strongly that like this is going to help so many people. And we're just like counting the days till it gets out in the world. But you can't pre-order it still now.
You can pre-order that at howtobedateable.com. You can also get the audiobook version. We are really selling hard on the audiobook version because Julie and I just finished recording the entire book. And it was not easy, but very much worth it and fun to do. But but you're used to our voices. So why not go to the extension of the podcast, which is in our audiobook?
So it's funny because I'm a reader and UA is an audiobook listener.
Yes.
And I think it's because I just do so much audio that I'm like, I can't do another audio,
True.
But I feel like doing that audiobook, I'm like, I want to listen to more audiobooks after that experience because it was such a different way of delivering the info. But then also the hardcover or Kindle, hardcover, you can actually write in the books. There's a lot of merit to that, but you get to see the illustrations that are in there too. So there's differences.
Because Julie did them. That's why. In case you're wondering why we're talking about illustrations.
We've gotten a lot of compliments on them from people that got the advanced order.
Just for the illustrations alone, it's worth getting the hardcover version. And then you can get the audiobook so you can listen to this on your walk and on your commute. But the illustrations really drive the point home.
I think, just this is our last thing. I know this has been a very extended intro, but I guess a lot to talk about.
Yes.
We wanted this book to be fun. I think that's a big piece of it. So that's why illustrations are there and all of that. It's not going to be that oh my God, another dating book. It's going to give you hope. It's going to be energizing. Everyone we've talked to that has actually read it is just I finished this in less than a week. It's a fast read. It's an inspiring, fun read. So just putting that out there that we're really excited again to get this into the world.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, hopefully everyone has a fantastic holiday. We will be back for our season finale next week.
Wow.
We have the fabulous John Kim, who is a returning dateable guest, aka the Angry Therapist. We had such a good combo with him. So make sure you tune in.
Low-key crush on him. Maybe it's a high-key
so
crush.
So low-key that I'm saying it on the air right now.
If I had a hall pass, just kidding.
I'm just going to clip that one part.
And send it to his wife.
Put it on Instagram. But it's such a great interview. So make sure to come back, right before the new year.
Yeah.
So we'll see you then. And in the meantime, too, we have a brunch talk that will be dropping, our last brunch talk of the year. That is all about, dating in the new year and setting those New Year's intentions. So looking forward to that as well.
Yay.
Okay. Well, before we get into this episode with Jaydi and Lauren, let's hear a message from our sponsors. Okay, let's hear it from Lauren and Jaydi.
Welcome to Dateable, Lauren and Jaydi, the founders of LJ Matchmaking, aka the love agents of Hollywood. I love that. I love that you get to call yourselves that. How does it feel?
It feels great that we didn't have to name ourselves because I feel that's the whole thing if you're just calling yourselves that. But one of our clients a long time ago just branded us, I guess, and we liked it and stuck with it.
Love it.
What's so interesting about matchmaking right now is matchmaking is making a comeback. We've heard that it feels so great when you can get someone a gift they wouldn't necessarily get for themselves. It's like a little reminder that they're worth it. So for quality gifts at an affordable price, my go-to is Quince. There's something for everyone. And I truly think you can't go wrong with their cashmere line, including their iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at just $50. I actually just got the short sleeve version in brown, and it looks so luxe paired with some white slacks and brown loafers. Hello, rich auntie vibes. And for whatever you're looking for, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They can do this by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the cost of the middleman, which passes the savings on to you. Gift luxury this holiday season without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/dateable for 365-day returns, plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/dateable to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dateable. Cuffing season, or as we like to call fluffing season, is here. Want to add some holiday cheer into the bedroom? Spice up your life with the natural power of cannabis with Via. Via has developed a unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido-strengthening herbs, and a medium dose of THC all into one mind-blowing gummy called High Love. And they just dropped their High Love Bundle, which includes a pack of gummies and a vape, so you can unlock the full experience at a reasonable price. I am all about these gummies that make me feel oh so good. I tell you, it's the real deal. And if THC isn't for you, you can still take advantage of their CBD line with products designed for sleep, focus, and energy that will keep you glowing all year long. So if you're 21 or older, head to viiahemp.com and use the code DATEABLE to receive 15% off. That's VIIAHEMP.com and use the code DATEABLE at checkout. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Take your passion and pleasure to a whole new level with High Love from Via Hemp. And Z's really into the idea, and people have really turned to matchmaking this year. First of all, let's just get to your backstory. How did you two get into matchmaking?
So I actually hunted Jaydi down to match ourselves, first as friends, but then as business partners, because I had heard that Seth MacFarlane's assistant, Jaydi here, had her own side hustle as a matchmaker. And I had set up a lot of my friends, and I wanted to get in on what she was doing, but I didn't even know her. I'd only heard of her. So then I made sure that I sat across from her at an event that I threw, and the rest is history. We hit it off, and I got in on her little side hustle.
Yeah, Lauren at the time was like, hey, I've always wanted to be a matchmaker. I don't think we need to compete with each other. I just want to like get in on whatever it is you're doing. And I was like, oh no, this is like a mom and pop shop thing. I don't have that many people I'm working with. Like I had some success and it was great, but I don't need the help right now. And I liked having full control. And that's really matchmaking in its purest form, is the same people or person as meeting every single client. So you're really getting to know everyone and matching them. And Lauren was like, not having that. She was like, oh, you don't need the help? I'll make sure you need the help. And started referring like 1 million people to my company. And then it's a long story in terms of the nuts and bolts of how we ended up going into business together. But that's really how that match started.
Okay.
And Lauren, like what motivated you to be like, I want to do matchmaking also?
Okay, so when I was an agency assistant, I used to work at WME. I worked with a lot of female assistants, and I happened to have a lot of male executive friends who were like maybe 5 years older than me. And I started setting up a lot of these friends. And I would also host a lot of parties where people would meet each other as well. And it just started snowballing. So then when I heard that Jaydi was doing it, I was like, let's team up. Let's join forces.
What's so compelling about your story is you started out very industry specific, helping people in Hollywood to find love. And I've heard time and time again, Hollywood is probably one of the hardest environments to date. Everyone's busy. You don't know people's intentions, and you don't know if they're here to stay or not. Some leave the industry quite quickly. So in your experience, what is stopping people from finding love in general? Why do they need a matchmaker's help?
I think before it was heavily weighted at an earlier stage in life. I think now, especially with so many opportunities for women professionally, we're all kind of focused on success and trying to achieve that at an early age and be independent and fulfilled in our dreams and passions before we feel like we want to enter that next phase of our lives. Sometimes there's overlap, but dating is a full-time job, as I'm sure many listeners know. And so it can feel like doing that is at the expense of pursuing something professionally.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, and men included, we don't tend to gender stereotype, right? But there are a lot of men who feel as if they have to be a breadwinner before they can take on any dependents, or even someone who is making a lot, they want to feel like they're on the same level. So men for a long time were trying to have professional success before they were able to shift gears into the personal. And now we're seeing women do the same thing.
Yeah.
And, we're having kids later. I had my kid through IVF. Like this seems to be the natural progression of things.
Zooming into Hollywood, though, I think what makes it difficult dating in Hollywood, even if you're not in the industry, is that it's a very image conscious industry, and it's a very youth focused industry. And a lot of the women that we work with and friends of mine who are still single, they'll come to me and they're 35 to 45 and they say that they're finally ready to settle down. So it can be difficult to set up women in that kind of environment when there are guys on the other end of it who are saying, well, I'm a director. So, I'm looking at beautiful images all the time on the screen. So I need a model or an actress. So it's our job to set up people that are looking for equals in many respects and aren't looking for a 20-year-old model. We do set up people who are in front of the camera as well, but we work mostly with women who are behind the scenes. Like, that's our niche because, actresses and models, they're meeting all the time at premiere parties. They can DM each other on Instagram. So they don't need a matchmaker. So, but the people that are behind the scenes, they do.
Well, okay. This is also why we love working with each other because we do have like spirited conversations sometimes. We do work with like a decent number of like models and actors as well, also in the date coaching arena. Absolutely. Like the focus of our business inadvertently has become people more behind the scenes because it's a referral only business. And we've had a lot of success setting up like network executives and agents and things like that. So referrals have come from there. But I'm finding that anyone we work with, regardless of their background, like it's hard out there.
Yeah. So it sounds like the people you're working with, though, are busy professionals that kind of maybe delayed love to get their careers in order. I think what was so interesting when Yue told me about her friend using your service was your one date at a time mentality. Can you kind of take us through that and like why do you operate that way? Because that's so counter to how dating apps work and how people work in general.
Well, baseline for us, it makes it less messy because we don't want to be setting up multiple clients at the same time. And also, if you get matched through us, we're not matching the person that you're going out with other people at the same time.
And also, like, who doesn't have shiny object syndrome these days?
Yeah.
We, in the age of swiping culture, everyone's looking for the next best thing. And what we do, it's very curated. And so with dating apps, we tell people supplement your dating life however you want. But this person that we're putting in front of you was carefully selected for a reason. We really got to know you. We really got to know them. If we're putting multiple options in front of someone, they're going to explore probably whoever they're most physically attracted to. Let's be realistic. Back in the day, Lauren and I used to throw events. We would do like group hikes and game nights. Everyone would flock to the same woman or the same man, and no one would actually get to know the people that we had flagged as matches for the other.
Yeah.
And so with this one-on-one mentality, you're kind of forced to really explore a connection to the fullest to decide, is there potential here or is there not? Instead of comparing that person to anyone else they might be meeting who maybe, dangled in front of them looks more appealing in the short term, but is it really a stronger long-term connection? We don't know. And so we encourage people, at least through us, to do one match at a time.
I mean, I used to always say that like at parties and events, like the best people are like the ones that are kind of like off to the side that no one's talking to.
Yeah.
But that's not who people are drawn to. Like they're drawn to the shiny object syndrome, like you said.
Exactly. The gregarious person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone has eyes on them. But
Who ends up being a fuckboy. Yeah.
Yeah, always. Without a doubt. But there is something about human psychology to all of this, and I'm still trying to crack it. And I hope you two can shed some light about this. Because I've run this idea through a few friends. Like, what if you can only date one person at a time? You have to really see it through. And so many people gave me the feedback of, if I go on a date or two with someone and I find them pretty good, they're a pretty good match, it makes me almost more motivated to meet more people because I'm feeling good. Do you get any pushback from clients when you institute this rule? And what is their reasoning for wanting to have more matches?
I have so many things to say about this. Okay, so this is going to sound hypocritical, actually. For matchmaking, we prefer one match at a time because we have gone through so much trouble to really curate the match for each client. When I'm coaching someone for dating, I encourage them to actually date as many people as possible.
Okay.
I talk more people out of committing too soon to one person than I do the opposite. I actually find that in terms of my girlfriends and our female clients in particular who are straight, I find that it's really common for people to get like locked in. And let's be honest, it happens with a lot of our guys. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, I was at Miley Cyrus's birthday yesterday and met this amazing girl and I think we're in love. I don't want to get set up right now. And we're like, but we feel like we met someone amazing for you. They take themselves off the market and like a week later, they'll hit us up and say,
Oh, yeah, they always go back.
Yeah.
You have been in a situation where they have not come back, by the way.
Yeah.
like the time. So it happens on both sides. So I'll just speak more generally. I really encourage everyone to know, like someone has to earn the right to have your full attention,
Yeah.
right? Our time is limited and we need to be precious about it. And so for someone to earn the right to take you off the dating market, they really have to prove that they don't just have what it takes in the short term, but they have all of these long-term qualities that you're searching for and that you're compatible with. And so coaching-wise, I think everyone should really take their time before committing to one person. Matchmaking-wise, Lauren and I really are thoughtful about our introductions. And so it's different than maybe someone at a party that you barely know or someone online that you have only preliminary information about. We know so much about everybody. So we do want you to focus one at a time. But out there, oh my gosh, please, like take your time. Don't get too locked in too soon.
I think that's a really good distinction you made too, of like they need to be deserving of your time. I can also see it too, like where you are. Because like if you're new to dating, you don't really know what you're looking for. Like maybe there's more merit of going out with more people to like learn what's the right fit for you. But if you've been dating for a while, I think sometimes it can be challenging when there's always this like mentality of like there's someone better around the corners. That's kind of what I do like about your one match at a time, is it lets you focus and actually get to know the person, which is so what's missing in today's world. Like how do you strike that right balance of appreciating what's in front of you, but also maybe not getting ahead of yourself and cutting off people that could be a better match for you?
I would recommend not going out with more than 3 people at the same time. I think at some point you start mixing up information. You're like, wait, which one's from Florida again? You know, and I've been there when I was single on dates and I'm like, oh shoot, I wish I took notes or something. But I think keep a few in the mix at any given point in time until it seems like things are progressing more with one person. After 3 dates, you probably know if it has the potential to really take off. So if you're still unsure by date 3 and wondering what else is out there, stop seeing that person, make room in your schedule to meet somebody new. And eventually you'll find that really it's better with one person.
Yeah.
I do think that situationships can be a chemistry killer when you're meeting.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like it's one thing if you're dating around and meeting a bunch of new people at the same time, but if you've been in a situationship with someone for 3 years, I think that you need to cut that loose.
You can't give someone a fair chance, new people either, if you're stuck on that
3
person.
dates, not 3 years. Like most situationships beyond 3 dates, if you're looking for something serious.
I do wonder, how do you coach your clients through the decision-making process? Because we find that with a lot of daters, they have a hard time determining whether this person's a good match or not. And that's why they keep dating other people. It's just a lot of, I don't know, like she's fine, he's great, the date was okay, everything's fine.
I feel like it should be more than fine.
Well, I think that what it is there's conflicting info, right? There's like, you can't just fall for the spark and the chemistry and it builds over time. But then people are like, is it building or is there just no chemistry?
Yeah, I want to talk to the no spark people in terms of stick it out, stick it out. Both of us have worked with some people who truly are like newer to the dating scene in terms of giving it a serious go. And maybe they're not totally sure what they're open to or interested in. Most people by a certain age kind of know when they feel like something has potential or not. And so do I think there needs to be fireworks on a first date? Not necessarily, but does it need to have the potential for fireworks? Yes. I think anyone that talks about everything growing over time, it can, but I find that that tends to work better when you're just friends with someone and then one day you wake up and you're like, oh, it really grew and I wasn't even trying to, have that happen. It has to be unexpected. I think when you're forcing a growth, most people are, no one wants to like commit to someone that they were resisting,
Yeah.
Right. It's also like, what's the line, like you said? Like, I think there's like zero attraction versus like, I'm attracted, but maybe aren't like trying to rip this person's clothes off right away. But I'm like, can still visualize kissing them and like doing the things. Like, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, look, if you're 100% certain that you want to marry somebody or commit to them for life, whether it's after your first date, which I don't recommend, or after 10 years, right? You go to the altar, you tie the knot, whatever your form of commitment is, you do that if you're 100% certain. If you're 0% certain, like if you're 100% the other direction, there's no world I end up with this person, you end it. It could be after the first date and it could be a 2-year relationship. Anything in the middle, I think, is worth one more date.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that whole gray area is what one more date is for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to that though, and I want to revisit Lauren's comment. You were saying it should be more than fine. It should be amazing, like at least in the beginning. What we hear from many daters is that they've been burnt by the amazing.
Mm.
They've had many amazings and that didn't pan out and it actually was terrible for them. So they've course corrected the other direction and they're looking for something less amazing. Maybe fine is good.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, when you're at that point, you're like, okay, I can't go for the amazing may not be the best for me, but I'm also in the gray area. And it's always like, oh, one more date, because I'm in the gray area. At what point do you stop then? Because I can see someone just being in the gray area for a really long time.
It sounds to me like people are maybe confusing amazing with passion. I don't think you need the passion at the beginning, but I think instead of kind of using those terms in conjunction, think about it as amazing and potential. So not the P word passion, but the P word potential. If you feel like there's amazing potential, fine might be okay at the beginning, right? But you have to have that glimpse that it could be a lot better.
Yeah.
And if it's not moving progressively in that direction and it's just kind of meh, and you're going date after date and you're just not feeling excited about the potential, I mean, I think by 3 dates, you need to be excited about that.
Okay, I'm going to answer the question in a roundabout way.
Mm-hmm.
So are you suggesting that these people are dating people that are more safe because
maybe
they've been dating bad boys in the past or people with trauma or,
You know, it's what Julie was saying. There's just a lot of conflicting advice out there.
Yeah.
So people are like, okay, don't chase a spark. Don't go for amazing, but date someone who feels safe. And maybe that feels fine or boring. But then I also want someone who I'm excited about. They're just like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel anymore.
Okay, so I think single people need to identify, okay, what was exciting about the guys that didn't work out? And what was negative about why they didn't work out? And maybe I can find somebody with the positive qualities of that person without the baggage.
Yeah.
Because, maybe there's a reformed bad boy out there. Maybe there's somebody with like a little bit of edge. Maybe there's somebody who has been through therapy, but they still like to skydive and they do like exciting things and I can do that with them. So I think that it doesn't need to just be the safe choice. I think that like instead of being so concerned about like what you're looking for, maybe start out with who's looking for me back and like work your way from there. Okay, like a bunch of these safe guys like me. Okay, but is there a world where these reformed bad boys like me as well? And then whittle it down from there. Because I think people are a little bit too narcissistic about what they want. What about what other people are looking for?
That's a good point. So how do you deal with this as matchmakers? Because I could see people being like, well, I'm paying you. I want to get everything on my list. We've heard this from other matchmakers. How do you, like, 1, find the right matches for them, and then 2, get them out of their own way to see this as widening their type or expanding it, not settling?
So we're very different from other matchmaking companies in this regard because, first of all, we charge in the hundreds, not the thousands. And a big part of it is we don't ever want to guarantee a minimum number of matches. What happens with these companies is someone pays like $10,000 for 8 matches, for example, and they're told, because you want to know when you're paying that much money, what you're getting for that money. But you can't guarantee an outcome with matchmaking. So what do? They guarantee that you are going to have 8 people that check off, all of what you're looking for. Contractually, when you read the fine print, it's more like they have to be the same religion. They have to like want kids or not want kids. There's like a few things, and then everything else is a preference. For us, we don't want to be in a business of guaranteeing 8 matches for someone in 6 months to a year. Maybe we have 3 strong contenders that are off of their menu that they've ordered. And then we don't know where these other 5 matches are coming from if that's not their person. And so a lot of times these companies who you think you're paying all this money for these really curated matches, and there's a lot of merit to using these companies, so I don't want to bash them, just differentiate.
Oh, but we know.
Yeah.
We know where you're going.
What happens is they'll hit up strangers on LinkedIn and approach strangers at Whole Foods who they know nothing about. Maybe they pass a basic background check, but how much do you really know about these people that your clients are paying thousands of dollars to meet that they could have just found themselves on Hinge?
Yeah.
And so for us to sleep at night, first of all, we're referral only. Yes, does it inadvertently give an air of exclusivity that we enjoy? Sure. But really, it's to protect our clients. We want to make sure the quality is high. People know when they sign up through us, they know that it's blind dates. They know that we don't guarantee any quantity. We only guarantee quality. And that we try to increase the strength of matches for them if they don't hit it off with someone. So we're really clear up front. And I think our business model protects us from that because we work in more volume, we charge lower fees. And so the difference of someone maybe going on a subpar date through us versus, a company that if you do the breakdown, it was like $1,500 to have a subpar date. It's just your takeaway is going to be very different. And it gives us the flexibility to really just focus on quality. It earns a lot of trust with the people that we work with. But it's not great for profit, right? Like if you put profit first, it's not a way to run a business. We both have other professions within the industry, and it's always kind of been this side hustle of ours, and it's allowed us to put love first.
Good.
And so I think a lot of it has to do with that.
Yeah.
To drill that down a little bit further, we won't start off matching somebody with somebody where they have listed something as a strong preference or the opposite of strong preference. Like they strongly aren't looking for somebody bald. Like we're not going to start off matching them with somebody like that.
Got it.
But we might eventually warm them up to the idea of somebody like that, especially if what we've been presenting them, which has been on the money physically, hasn't been working. So, but we're not going to start off like that. We're not like, hey, this is what you need as opposed to what you want. We're not going to just, drill that down their throats to begin with. That's why, the feedback is so important that we get after dates because we can tailor the matches afterwards and then we could kind of pivot and they end up being a little bit more open or a lot more open as the process progresses.
I appreciate that perspective change because just relating this back to dating, if someone doesn't have the luxuries of going to a matchmaker, what you can learn from just that conversation alone is you have all these requirements on your list and you have to ask yourself, if I found someone who's so amazing for me and they happen to be 5'9" and not 6 feet, is that really going to be a deal breaker? And I think that's a really great way of asking that question because most of the time we're like, why does height matter to you so much? Why does age matter to you so much? It becomes very accusatory. But if we did find someone just a little bit outside of what you're looking for, but they're amazing for you in every which way, would you really turn them away? Do you ever turn away clients, people you find unmatchable?
I wouldn't use the word unmatchable. There are some people who are more challenging, but I would say I believe everyone deserves love and everyone, if they try hard enough and work on themselves, can find it. But in terms of us turning people away, we actually waitlist automatically. So we will only activate someone's membership if we feel like we have capabilities.
Oh, interesting.
That's smart.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's rare that we'll work with someone and then we're like, here's your money back. We don't feel like we have matches for you because we won't take them on unless we think we do from the outset.
Lauren, any thoughts to add to that?
I don't think that there are certain people out there that are categorically unmatchable, but they might not be for us and our clientele. I think the beauty of the way that we operate, so we don't charge the men outright. They can opt into a VIP tier, but I think the beauty of what we do and how we work is if we meet a guy that we don't think is right for any of our women, we don't have to set them up. Like we aren't obligated because they aren't paying.
And these are our straight guys. We have a different model for the LGBTQ plus community. But when it comes to our straight client, we do have 2 tiers for men, as Lauren said. So there's a VIP tier, which is a little bit different, and we won't allow someone to activate that tier unless we feel like we can match them. It does involve some coaching and other things too. It's still hundreds, not thousands. But when we start, men can opt into a complimentary tier. And what that does, it initially, everyone's like, how can you call yourselves feminists and only charge the women? It's actually so good for the women because the majority of men that are like paying a lot of money to matchmaking companies, there are for sure outliers, but a lot of them are people that are really struggling to meet women on their own. Those aren't the kind of men that our women usually are interested in dating, which I think is maybe what Lauren is getting at. And so for us, by not charging, we get amazing guys. They're like, oh, it's not a bruise to my ego. Like,
Right.
I don't need it, but sure, if you've got like someone great to introduce me to. So this is what we've been doing for like a decade. And we have the most amazing men that we work with as a result. My husband was a client of the company.
Oh.
He would not have joined. He'll tell you, like, he would not have let anyone sign him up for matchmaking if he had to pay, because he was meeting women and it wasn't an issue. He just hadn't found the right person, which to me is worth paying a matchmaker for, but try telling certain guys.
Yeah.
And so it just seems to really work, and it's great for everyone. They treat on the dates, which we insist upon. And
So the men pay on dates.
yes. Yeah, I feel like they have
Got
to
it.
be somewhat invested in the process.
Yeah.
They don't need to pay us.
Can't be a free ride. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So don't pay us, but treat the women that we're introducing you to.
And did you match your husband with yourself?
You?
Like how did that happen?
You're like, I have a match for you. It's me.
It's me.
You're laughing. I kind of did. So I was dating someone I was like in a 3-year relationship when he came through our doors. We did his intake interview together. This was pre-COVID. We were meeting everyone.
I actually had to kind of convince him to do it, to sign up, speaking to him not originally being open to something like this. It's still like matchmaking is still taboo with men.
Yeah.
And with women a little bit. So anyway.
Well, you feel like I shouldn't have to pay someone. There is that mentality.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
I couldn't do it alone.
I don't need the help.
Although I think like a lot of women in Los Angeles in particular are like, here's our money. Like it's
Yeah. Yes.
you know, more willingness to set ego aside. So with Dave is my husband's name. We met him in person. At the time, I remember thinking, oh, he's really cute. Like, I can't wait to, like, the women who are going to love him. I even had certain women in mind. It was the woman who referred him. I actually was like, why aren't they dating? Like, I was
Interesting.
obsessed.
That was a little weird that you had me try to set that up. I'm like, they already know each other.
You're like, I see that you're a match. You don't see it.
This girl was like,
Have you met your friend?
the girl was like, everybody suggests that. Like,
Oh my God.
join the line.
Now that I know them both really well, you know, I wouldn't have done it. But at the time, I was like, why are you here? You've already met your perfect woman. Because she was,
Oh my
he was a
gosh.
client of ours as well.
Oh.
And she's amazing. And I was like, these amazing people need to date. But we actually set him up with 5 different women over the course of a year and a half.
Mm.
And I became single around that time. And I just like, I could not get him out of my head. And he had
Mm.
he did send one flirtatious email earlier. I was like on vacation in Hawaii with my then ex-boyfriend. And he was like, he was like very apologetic that he wasn't connecting with our women and felt the need to explain himself. Like, they're really great. Like, I'm just looking for someone like, and then kind of described me and was like, kind of like you, but it doesn't have to be you. Like, he started.
Oh.
It was inappropriate enough because I was in a relationship that I literally passed him off to Lauren. I was like, Lauren,
Oh.
do all his matches now. And I didn't tell him
Whoa.
why. I was just like, what did I say to you at the time? Like,
I don't even, it was so like, and it was like a nothing burger. I was like, okay.
yeah. I was just like,
Oh.
we take turns being on point with different clients.
Mm.
Like, some just relate to one of us better, which is another reason it's great to have 2. But
Mm.
yeah, I was like, I think, you know, you'll do his matches. And he wrote to me, he was like, did you pass me off? Oh, like, yes, I did. I did exactly what up. But yeah, when I became single, I just like, I couldn't get him out of my head. And I already knew he thought I was cute because he said so in the email. And I was like, all right, maybe I should just actually be, I don't know, bold and ask out a client, which is wildly unprofessional, which is what I told him at the time. But he wasn't having it with the women that we were most excited about for him anyway.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, all right, we'll maybe lose him as a client if we go on a date or two and it doesn't go well. But we shot our best shot with our clients anyway.
Yeah.
And I really, really did try. Like, he jokes that I tried like not setting him up with, like, it's a joke because the women were amazing. But he was like, he tells the story like, yeah, like she tried to like sabotage all my dates because, she had her eyes on me the whole time. It wasn't the case. I thought the women that we matched him with are incredible. And it's a whole other story of like asking him out and, the rest of it.
Well, yeah, she approached me and told me that she was going to be asking out a client. And I was like, oh my God, it's Aaron, right? It has to be Aaron. And she was like, it's not Aaron. I'm like, who else can it be if it's not Aaron? And I was like, you're the date? Like, I didn't know there was even a thing going on there. But but I don't think it was like wholly unprofessional because not like paying us. I think that if he was paying us, it would definitely have been potentially.
Yeah, because he's not a paying client.
Love is love.
That would have been amazing if Lauren, you set him up and then like JD just showed up. You were just hey.
Should have done it that way. I don't know if I was that bold. Like, I need confirmation first.
Like, you're meeting Bachelorette D because it wouldn't be Janae because that would be that would be revealing. But D is her middle name. You're meeting Bachelorette D.
Oh my God.
What a great story.
I want to dive into this even more, but before we do, let's take a quick break to hear from our partners. The holiday season is right around the corner, and I know the perfect gift that I will most definitely be giving this year. Osea's limited edition Super Glow Body Set. It includes 3 of Osea's best-selling body care products at an incredible value, packed in a box so beautiful you can skip the wrapping paper. This is gifting made easy. We've said it before on the podcast, but both Yue and I are obsessed with their new Undaria Algae Body Wash, which is part of the set. But all of the products in this set, the body wash, body oil, and body serum, feel like you're taking a luxurious trip to the spa. They just leave your skin feeling silky soft and unbelievably glowing. So maybe while you're at it too, you'll want to grab one for yourself. But hurry before this limited edition sells out. Give the gift of glow this holiday season with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now we have a special discount for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with the code DATEABLEPODCAST at OseaMalibu.com.
This holiday season, give the gift that truly keeps on giving. A lifetime membership to Rosetta Stone. It's the perfect gift for anyone looking to learn or improve their language skills. As the trusted expert for 30 years with millions of users and 25 languages offered, Rosetta Stone provides flexible learning so anyone can learn on the go with a mobile app or on their desktop, on their schedule. The lifetime membership has all 25 languages. That's lifetime access for a very special offer for our listeners. Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. Today, Dateable listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. Visit rosettastone.com/today. That's 50% off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/today. Today, for yourself or as a gift that keeps giving.
Let me guess, you have a life and job that you love, but the one thing missing is love itself. If you want to take your dating journey seriously this year, we highly recommend checking out Dating Intentionally wherever you get your podcasts. Dating Intentionally is hosted by Talia Karen, who's on a mission to make dating fun and help you date with confidence. Talia pulls from her own experience going on 180 dates with over 60 people in just 10 months, which ultimately led to her getting married. She's also joined by therapists, coaches, experts, and authors like us. We had a great conversation with Talia on her show all about dating skills you need to find the relationship you want. That's episode 78. If you're looking for practical, no-nonsense advice that you can apply to your dating life today, you can listen to Dating Intentionally on Tuesdays and Fridays on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Okay, the whole thing, I want to just make sure I'm understanding like the way you all work. So you don't see the person. You get a match. You're like, I know someone that would be great for you because I've talked to all these clients and I know their vibe. I know their demographics. I know all the stuff about them. You match two people. They agree to go out. And then at that point, do you set up the date? Do they set it up? How does that work to them, like the guy paying?
Well, we set up all aspects of the introduction. We'll tell each person about the other person enough to get them excited.
Okay.
Hopefully not too excited. I want to temper some expectations. So
Right.
blow the roof off of those expectations.
Yeah.
Name, age, what they do for a living, why we think it could be a match based on what they've told us or prior feedback. And then we will pick a place, usually casual, not a place where it's a 5-course meal, more like drinks with a chance of apps.
Okay.
Place where we can make a reservation so we know they'll have a place to sit and aren't trying to like hunt for a place to sit. And then we'll also exchange numbers the day of for logistical purposes. And if they do hit it off, that's how they can communicate. And then we'll check in with each of them after the date. And hopefully they've hit it off and the guy then has the green light to reach out to get the ball rolling on date 2. But we only make introductions. We do coaching, so can help finesse things as a relationship blossoms and progresses. But it's on the people that we're setting up to like break it off should it end like at date 5. We don't break up with people after date 1.
So how does the one match at a time work then? Like, so basically until they tell you like we're no longer seeing each other, then they can get another match?
Yes, it's exactly how it works.
And then post-date feedback, any of that?
Yes. So usually the next day we'll just email just how to go. We recently started rolling out some more pointed questions, particularly if the responses are vague. But usually we'll just initially do the poke of like, how'd it go? Did you hit it off? Did you not? If they didn't, we try to get really specific as to what we can improve on for the match the next time. A lot of times when people are hesitant, it can be more superficial. So, we know like at this point, like the tells exactly. So we read between the lines, but we do really try to let people know like this is all confidential. We're here to help you. There's no judgment.
Yeah.
We really just want to find a better match for you. So to do that, we need to be armed with what was working so we can repeat that, what wasn't working so we can avoid that. And then, we go from there based on that conversation. But typically in writing, just because if we had calls with all of our clients after, like we literally would have nothing else or our schedules.
Yeah, I spend way too much time on the phone when I call people on the phone. I know people like bash like texting and this generation just text, but when I'm on the phone, like it just goes on.
So I think one of the things we've heard of like why people maybe want to go to a matchmaker over use apps is because the matchmaker can vet some of this. Like on apps, you're like, what is this person looking for? Are they looking for like one night stand? Do they want a real relationship? Like, who knows? How do you vet for that type of stuff? Like, do you know that the people are like ready for a relationship, or like what tactics do you take around that?
We will only match someone if they're looking for something serious. So it's just a lot of trouble to go through if you're working with a matchmaker like us, who gives you a whole extensive questionnaire about who you are, what you're looking for. Then they Zoom with us for 45 minutes to an hour while we get into more specifics about those subjects. So to do all of that when you could just go swipe on an app for a date, for a hookup, it's just a lot of trouble if you're not looking for something serious. So
True.
Yeah.
there are plenty of matchmakers that will just, if someone's paying money, they'll take you on regardless of your intentions. And we're only interested in long-term matches and don't really want to be spending our time like bending over backwards for someone so they could have like one night, which I hope all our clients have, but beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when they hook up.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't have any rules around that because you know how Patty Stanger is like no sex before like you're exclusive.
We don't. We've seen people both in our personal lives with friends. We'll hook up on night 1 where they're happily married now with kids and all of that. And people who, wait until they're exclusive. I think you have to do what's right for you when it comes to that. We don't have any advice for the most part that's like
For clients.
Yeah.
It's the same no matter who you are and what you're looking for and what your background is. We really try to take a nuanced approach with each person. With sex in particular, I think what tends to happen is whatever someone is going to feel about you in 5 years from now, like it just speeds up an eventual outcome. So maybe if you're going to really get hot and heavy down the road and be like super into this person and maybe even marry them, having sex with them, it'll just speed up like the connection and the intensity and all of that. I think a lot of people really feel like they have to like blame themselves and have these regrets when it comes to sex. Like if only I held out and didn't sleep with this person, we would have maybe ended up together. I don't believe in that. I think especially because let's face it, we get feedback from people. We hear what happened and we hear, oh, it didn't work out when we just had sex. And I saw this side of this person. It's always that the other person is their most authentic self post sex. And so there's just, even if you try not to be, there's like an undeniable wall that's down that exists before sex. And so when you take that wall down even a little bit, they're really seeing you. And that can be a beautiful thing for the right person. And for the wrong person, it might be like, oh, they're amazing, but I just realized I can't end up with them.
Yeah.
And they think it's that the sex didn't go well, and it has nothing to do with that. So, you know, have sex whenever you want if you're prepared for whatever that eventual outcome might be.
Also, I have to say, if you are going over to the guy's place, expect that he's going to want to have sex. So don't go over there to begin with. That would be my advice.
Well, yeah, don't put yourself in situations that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Right.
Because guys don't like to get rejected sexually, you know, which is their problem, which is totally their problem. But
yeah, that's a major problem. Have you had situations where one person does want to keep seeing the other person doesn't? And what do you do with that feedback?
That happens all the time. So if it's after the first date, part of the wonders of having a matchmaker is we can let the other person down gently for you. We won't do it beyond a first date, though. Like, we're not breaking up your relationship.
Right. You're like, I'm not going to be the mediator of your breakup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, we are not in that line of work. And we get really sad when stuff ends. But after first date, like, we want to take that pressure off of you. We think that if we are we're asking a lot of clients, right? Like, hey, trust us, go on this blind date. For the men, pay for the date. So to then feel like they have to reject someone after being so vulnerable, we want to spare them from that on both sides. And so we'll do that. After first date, you kind of already know there's a little bit of interest, at least on both sides. So we just ask that you kindly let the other person know. There's really no such thing as like true ghosting through a matchmaker, you know, if they have relationships with their clients, because even if someone disappears, we can say, oh yeah, well, they disappeared on us too. It's not personal, or, you know, oh, they're traveling, or they just had a death in the family, or, you know, if there's an explanation that we're able to provide, we can shed some clarity. So a little bit of that is mitigated as well.
Interesting. In today's world, do you ever have people that are like searching for their match, like on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, like ahead of time? And how successful are they?
Oh, in rooting out who we're introducing them to?
Yeah, because I know you don't like show photos.
Yeah, it does happen, and it's very annoying, especially when people are like, oh, I'm a detective, you see, so I figured it out. And I'm like, listen, you're really not. Anyone could do this, but we ask that you don't. But we do try to, like, sometimes we'll change names, or we won't reveal certain aspects of their career. Like, we won't say they are a scripted current executive at a big streamer. We might just say they're an exec at a studio.
I see.
Like, we try not to be specific.
I see.
So we can curtail those keyboard detectives.
Yeah.
The Sherlock Holmes that are out there.
If it's someone that they know, we give enough of a description that they should be able to flag it. And that's happened sometimes. But
okay.
yeah, so that's like an example where it helps if they figured out who the person is, but they should be able to figure it out from our description alone. We also very quickly figure out which clients are the detectives, and we'll change names or phrase things differently because some people just get in their own way and they don't want to, but they can't help themselves. And like, oh my God, really? You're not going to go out with this guy because you know that he went out with your cousin 6 years ago and didn't walk her to her car?
Right.
you're not going to go out with him. We try to avoid preconceived notions as much as possible. And so, when we know that someone is really going out of their way to figure out who people are and writing them off for what we deem frivolous reasons, we just try to get ahead of that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's so many interesting points of this conversation. I think one of the things I'm taking away from all of this is like people always say like, should I hire a matchmaker? And it's not a one size fits all. Like what you're saying is so different than the way that other matchmakers operate. So it's kind of like, I don't know, even like it's like dating, but like we hear this with therapy too. It's like you got to date and find the right matchmaker for you. Like you got to find that right match if you're going to go down this path. It's not like a yes or no. There's so many variables in between. I mean, I still love the idea of the one match at a time.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking back, like when I met my partner a little over 3 years now, like I did one match at a time, not even realizing it. And I think the key there is that it gives you the ability to really get to know that person in front of you and stay present. But I love the point that you made too, is not to get attached to that. Like if this person still isn't right for you, like it's time to move on. Even if you don't have someone else that you're dating at the same time, like just having the confidence to be like, this isn't the right fit for me, I'm going to move on. But knowing that like you gave that person the presence and the chance, I still think that's a piece of modern dating that's so missing today. So I'm glad that you did bring back that aspect that's like more the traditional quote unquote dating.
Right. I think my biggest takeaway is if you are not ready for matchmakers yet, which some daters aren't, there's like, that's a big jump for me. First is to put on your matchmaker hat and say, how would I curate my dates for me? It's funny that people have so much enthusiasm and passion in matchmaking their friends. I have so many friends who would happily grab any of my apps and start swiping for me, yet they dread doing it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we matchmake ourselves, curate those dates for ourselves so that we are going on high quality dates with high quality matches is one way to look at it. And also when you're talking about success rates, JD, funny, I think back in the day for matchmaking, it probably was engagement and marriage rates. But these days, I can guarantee you, daters just want to know, are these quality matches? Are these good people that I'm going on dates with? And the reason why I was so compelled to reach out to you all was because the woman I met, she was like, I don't know what's going to happen with this guy that I've been matched with, but I am really enjoying getting to know him because he's a high quality guy. And we're going on high quality dates that I wasn't getting when I was just kind of mindlessly swiping. So I think that's a success rate we should all be thinking about too, right, in dating.
I love that.
That's really what we strive for. We can't guarantee that we're going to find your future forever person, but we can guarantee that we're going to try, and we can guarantee that the people are putting in front of you, if every once in a while, like let's, be realistic, there is some that slip through that we'll just stop setting up because, and like nothing crazy, right? But just not up to our standards of the quality, that we want people to experience on a date. But for the most part, like again, because they're referred especially, the quality of the dates, I can say with confidence, are consistently significantly better than what our clients tell us they're experiencing on their own. That we really do strive for and I think achieve.
Love that.
Fabulous. If people who are listening, who live in Southern California, who are interested in enlisting your services, how can they go about doing that?
Okay, so they can reach out via our website, ljmatchmaking.com. And if they don't have anyone in common with us, what we suggest that they do is start off with date coaching so JD can get to know them better, since you would be the one getting to know them if we want to talk more about that.
Sure. So typically, 99% of the people we're matching are referred. The times where we have made exceptions is if I've met someone in a date coaching capacity and come to really care for them in their journey and feel like we have possibilities for them. I think there are a lot of people, like matchmaking is the sexy, quick solution when you're single and looking for love. I feel like everyone that we've met, like who doesn't need your teeth cleaned or what have you, like there is something to date coaching when you are single to find out, like even if you are a perfect dater? Like the things that we look for, and I'm
Perfect dater. What's a perfect dater?
I'm going to tell you, Lauren. So I'm veering off topic a little bit, but I promise I'll circle back. When I'm first meeting with someone, I want to have a general sense of what is their confidence level in their life with dating, everything. Do they have any nervous dating habits they're bringing to the table that are getting in the way of showing up as their authentic self on a date? How good are they at flirting? Like, how good are you at signaling to the other person that you're interested? Now, I meet these people that are the rare exceptions, men, women, who are super confident. They totally know how to flirt when they're interested in someone, and they have zero nervous dating habits. What you see is what you get. That's unusual, but when someone is all of that and still single, the majority of the time, you're not looking for the right person. You're not looking in the right places. So at the very least, if you have a quote unquote perfect dater, right? You ask, what is a perfect dater? If someone checks off all of that and is still single, I promise you, even 30 minutes with me, like I'm going to help you get to the bottom of where can you look that you haven't been looking? What can you be doing differently to open yourself up to possibilities that will blow your mind that just are outside of what you think will? And so I think everyone can benefit from date coaching. Everyone I work with will contact me after, whether it's after one session or however many, to say, oh my God, I tried like this tip that you suggested and it's just my whole dating life has changed. I help update people's profiles to, sound truer to who they are and to attract the right person for them. Everybody can benefit, in my opinion. And so it's sexy and quick to be like, this person's going to find my husband, but if I can help you find that person for yourself, to me, that's huge. And so I don't think anyone is beyond a little bit of suggestion. And so I think, sign up for date coaching. Our website is LJ Matchmaking. And then we'll get to know each other.com. Thank you.
Not .net, not .ca, we're not connected.
Not .gov. We don't work for the government.
We'll link it in the show notes as well.
Cool. But start with date coaching. And then I'm very honest with people. If we're working with someone that I think is amazing for you, and I really think you're amazing for them back, and I think we have more than one possibility, so it's worth your while if it's not a match, I'll let you know. And, Lauren and I can both meet you and we can upgrade you to some matchmaking. But at the very least, like, you'd be surprised how much you could benefit even just from that date coaching step if nothing more comes of it.
Right.
That said, we do know a lot of people. So there is a chance that someone knows us.
Yeah, like look on social media. These days, it's so easy to find out if you can get a referral. So it's very removed at this point. We've been in business since 2014. So it can be like, at this point, it's like somebody's brother's uncle's neighbor. Like it's so removed at this point, but there's often connections. I've seen people like post an article about us. Like, does anyone know these ladies? Like, so it can come about in any way, shape, or form. But the first thing we'll ask when you hit us up is, how'd you hear about us? Who told you? And then we'll figure out how we can best serve them.
Right. Well, thank you so much for all of that information. I think we learned so much about matchmaking in general as an industry and how exciting it is that it is changing, because we've known matchmakers for a long time. It's different. It's good. It's going in the right direction. For all of our listeners, if you learned something new from this episode, how can you be your best matchmaker? Why don't you leave us a rating and review in Apple Podcasts? Give us 5 stars. And in the body of your review, tell us what you learned. We want to know. How can you curate the best matches for yourself? And while you're there, why don't you pre-order our book coming out in January 2025, How to Be Dateable, published by Simon & Schuster. We're very excited for that to come out. And we do have a few chapters on how to find the perfect partner for yourself. We have a thing called the perfect partner equation that we've coined. But you have to get the book to find out what that is. All right, wrapping up this episode. Stay dateable.
The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So while ice skating for 2 is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Meemaw and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.